Here, of all the times you're on time, and now here we sit, wasting your time. Doggone.
Oh, we can catch up on old times.
Is this audio better?
Oh,
Okay. I can hear all of you better too, so I will stick with that.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had some technical difficulties. I'm not sure what happened with the system. So what we're doing is we are recording this meeting via, so Zoom has a record feature.
okay.
So that is how we are recording the meeting. Okay, so we can go ahead and start.
Sounds good. So we're good. I can start now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Alder Dorf, we already, you're here. Alder Weary,
Yep, here.
Clerk Teskey,
Here.
Chief of Staff Jeffries,
Here.
Terry Racine,
Here.
Karen Schley, here. Susan Smith, here. H. Smet,
Here.
Professor Allison Staudinger.
Here.
Great, everyone is here. First thing on the agenda, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
I second it.
Motion by Alder Dorf, second by Karen Schley. To approve. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And anybody opposed? Great. Okay, all those in favor. Next is the approval of the minutes.
Move to approve. I don't have time to wait, so I'm just gonna move stuff.
Do it, do it. And somebody second?
Second.
Okay, Alder Dorf, move to approve. Terry Racine, seconded. All those in, or any discussion? See none. All those approval of the, or all those in favor of approving the meeting, or the minutes of last meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
And thank you. Anyone opposed? None. All in favor. Okay. Regular business polling locations. I will, we're a little short on time tonight. Alder Dorf has an important meeting at 6, so I'm going to just let her start with polling locations, either you or Clerk Teskey. So go ahead.
Okay, I'll start and catch you guys up to where we're at. Okay, so when we last met, we were talking about getting a letter. We voted to write a letter to the school board. That was sent. Did everyone get a copy of the? No.
Well,
Would you like me to read the letter quickly?
no,
Or
I'll just send it.
you'll
Yeah.
send the letter. You'll get the letter. Okay. Now, this is what we were asked to be placed on the agenda. I don't know if the agenda's, but I did go to their website today, and their meetings are very different than our meeting. It looks like if you want to comment, you have to have written comment in by Friday, which I'm thinking maybe using the letter as the basis for written comment. And then if you want to speak, you have to fill out something and they'll call you at the phone number that you leave. I don't believe they're using Zoom. It doesn't look like when I went on there. So I would love it if someone else wanted to check that at some point, but and Eric asked me to speak, but I also would want someone from the city to speak. You know, it's just not in Alder. I mean, yes, that's good, but who else could speak? And here's the other thing, it's not a discussion. You just speak into the air and they don't respond back to you. So I don't even know if they could ask questions of us. They have all their open forum right at the beginning. You register through this process. Someone will call you on your telephone. You are speaking and you can't see anything. And then they don't say anything apparently. So
Okay.
I didn't think that their meeting was like that. I thought it would be a chance for them to ask us some questions, and I certainly have answers. But what I could do now, and now I can't do it for this meeting, but come up with a statement using as the letter as a basis, and then putting in some possible answers to questions. For example, which wards would be at each school? Chris figured that out. What is the average perception in August. Now it depends on the election. If it's a governor election, a little higher. If it's not, a little lower. So maybe 17 to 20%. Then I also figured out, given the wards that I was given by Chris assigned to each school, I went back to 2016 and I added up those wards of who voted in the 2016 August primary. So I can give them an example, which I can give to you guys too. So the thing is, Southwest had 2,086 total voters in 2016. And I won't go through the other ones, but the question I can just hear them saying to me is, which, you know, they won't get a chance to ask is, but Barb, there were 1,300 at East and West, and that did not go well. What would make this go well if you're saying that in 2016 there were over 2,000? Well, I think I have an answer for that. The answer would be that we have more poll workers, there'll be more tables, it will be more well organized. But what I'm trying to do is, within that statement, think of all possible questions they might have and answer those questions. Anybody else have a better idea? Go forth and write, Barb? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
All right.
good,
Go
Barb.
for it.
All right.
The letter we approved, just as a reminder, we did approve, and the letter did not look much different at all than the letter we approved last Thursday. So I think,
Right.
you know, that really speaks for the committee. And if you think we
Right.
need more people, we can talk about getting another person or two signed up tomorrow to speak, but speak on our behalf quite well.
And I do think either the mayor or Celestine or both just should chime in that this is a request from the city of Green Bay. In addition, I'll represent this committee. Okay, does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. So that, okay, now I also need you guys to shift your brains a little bit, because we've been talking about August and November. We have to stop right now doing that. We have to think about right now August. And here's why. There's too much maybe about November. We don't know enough. In a perfect world, where you vote in August would be where you'd vote in November. Oh, that would be so great. I think the most we will get out of the school district is August, if we get that. And for August, that would be lovely, that we don't have to scramble and find any more little small places. We could get the 4 high schools and then the 13, because that was a school board member called me and said, it better not just be the 4 high schools. I said, no. There are 13, or is it 14 August places. I will try to have that number correct. So if we focus on August, here's another thing that could possibly happen. Next Thursday, Nate, who is our risk manager, and I've communicated with the person that owns the Sears, and we're going out there and we're going to do the 27-page audit together with the manager of Sears. He's giving us an hour, and we will do that. We may have Sears. We may have Sears for August and November. Here's why we may not have it for November, because they are looking at 2 possible developments. And if any of those developments goes through, they will start demolishing it. They will know if they're going to demolish it 90 days before the November election. Okay, so we will know 90 days before the November election, but they are very willing to let us have it for August. I say we take it for August, and then maybe we don't necessarily use Southwest and West. Thoughts on that, guys? Because we're never going to get those for November. I can almost guarantee it.
The high schools.
The high schools. Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yes, Clerk Teske.
Barb, can I ask what is their concern about the number of people? Why does that bother them?
What does that bother who? Who are you talking about?
Why does the number of people bother the high schools?
We don't know that. I'm predicting questions, Chris.
Okay.
I'm predicting questions. I just know I was asked already by a school board member whether they're not all coming through the high schools, are they? There better be other places. And that's a person who might vote on our side. So I know that that's a vote that we need, and that's somebody that's not, he said, I would not, he or she said, I would not be willing to vote yes if all of them were in the high schools. So
I wonder why, because then we could alleviate what their issue is with it. That's what I was trying to get at. So,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
We don't, it's so hard. You can't even talk to them in a group. Okay. Now, here's the other thing about what we don't have in August is Bay Beach Pavilion. We will not get that in August. I'm settled with that. We will get that in November. So therefore, we have that to make up for. So we could get that, Triangle Hill, and the Wildlife Sanctuary. We could have those for November. Yes, it's a pandemic. People will have to change where they voted. We could be really very organized, and on the east side have the 2 high schools and the places we have on the east side. On the west side, we could have Sears, but we don't know that we'll have it for November until 90 days before the election.
And we don't think we'll have the high schools for November.
We almost are 100% positive we won't have the high schools unless someone radically changes their vote.
Why were they willing to let us have it for the April election?
Because
The
their
2 high
school is not in
schools,
session.
and there's,
Karen, school was not in session in
well,
April.
August they're not in session. August they're not in session.
Right, so they'll probably let us have it for August, probably, but not if we say we're putting all of the voters in the high schools. That is, I know that's a deal breaker. Which in a way it's not so bad, because some of these places we have for both November and August, we should keep those. We absolutely should
Right.
keep those, right?
Right.
We just need, Chris Weir's gonna have all the poll workers, we'll be fine. So we'll keep those and we'll have all those poll workers there and that'll all work.
Right. I think if we have them for August, even smaller ones for August and November, that's great, because not only poll workers, but voters who vote in those specific locations will know, okay, I voted here in August, it's still open for
Right.
November. So there will be a certain percentage that vote in the same place. That's,
Right.
I think,
And there will be a big percentage that won't, just because it's impossible and there's nothing we can do about that.
right.
And if we're really lucky, we'll get Sears for both.
Right.
So,
Point of
yes.
clarification, the Wildlife Sanctuary and Triangle Hill are available for August and November, or we would only use them in November?
we can use them for both.
Okay.
We can use them for both. So do you guys, I will not know about Sears when I go to the school board meeting, when we're making the ask for the 4 high schools. If we don't have Sears, try to get the 4 high schools for August,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
And then
Yes.
if we do get Sears, we probably don't want to use those 2 high schools. We probably just want to practice at Sears. I think it makes sense to practice there in August. Committee, what do you think?
I have a stupid question. Would there be air conditioning in August there in that big building?
Right now they're telling me there's no HVAC.
Okay. I had
Or that it's not
poll
working.
workers quit that meeting the day before the election in August because there was no air if it's hot.
Yeah, the high school gyms don't have air either.
Oh, they don't. Okay.
No, they do not. None of the high school gyms have air conditioning.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to get fans. If for November, like for Bay Beach and Triangle Hill, we're gonna have to get heaters. We're gonna have to get some of these things. And I'm sorry about the whole air conditioning thing, but yeah. And I know
Okay.
some people need that, then they better not go and be in one of the places without it, or if we can get them are there little mini personal air conditioners? I don't know. Is there such a thing?
They're
The
little-
Packers might have one. No, they don't.
I think, yes, I think with the high schools, you should ask for all 4. And I don't know if obviously if they ask about Sears, you can tell them, but I don't know if we even need to bring that up, because
I'm not. No, they won't ask anything. Yeah,
Right.
they're
Oh,
not going to
that's-
talk to me. Yeah, they're not talking to me. I just
because
have to guess what they're going to ask.
and the high schools would definitely pass the WEC audit, right? I mean, they would. 2 of them already have. They already were used for polling locations. We don't know if Sears will. We won't know. I don't know what the turnaround time is once you've certified for the audit, if the WEC actually has to look at that audit. And Chris, no? Okay. But we'll just
Okay.
know one way or the other. And we won't know until next Thursday. So I say ask for all 4. And if we end up with too many polling locations, that's better than problem. That's just my opinion.
Do you guys have any other possible questions you think they might ask that I should, just prepare some answers to in my statement?
They might
You're
ask
gonna
about
do a
cleaning.
good job.
Wait. I can't hear because two people are talking.
Sure. Go ahead, Karen.
I just said, Barb, I think you'll do a great job. You're very
Oh.
informative. So,
Okay. Weight of the world.
I think they should let us have those schools. This is a major election, and I think for voting purposes, I think we're entitled to have those.
Yeah, you wish, right? But that's not. I met with them. The mayor met with them. The president, vice president. Vice president was way on board. President was not, and others are not. So you would think in August, but the argument was, well, the teachers might not be allowed to be in the building, so why should you be allowed to be in the building? So we're hoping to overcome that at the meeting. That it just doesn't make sense. We really need it. We need the high schools.
Yeah, we need those buildings.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Further
that's it. Yeah.
discussion?
I didn't hear what you said.
I said any further discussion? Discussion,
No.
questions for
Well,
Barb?
I'd like to hear from Chris, about what she thinks about the current locations that we do have for August and for November. How are we doing good on that, Chris?
Well, our existing ones, nothing's changed. I mean, it's the same number. So I'm going with that, keeping the 2 wards there. So I'm just, waiting on what we can get for the remainder now. We do need to know that soon because we need to get that in the WISP vote system. And I think they want that, we probably have a couple weeks yet, which I think by then we'll know. At least Sears.
We'll know about Sears.
Yeah. And I'm good with Sears. I mean, I just think that's great.
It would be awesome. Yep.
So, and if we get the high schools, it'll be a bonus because 3 of the wards, well, actually 4 of the wards, the N4 are huge wards. They do absentee vote though,
Okay.
a lot. So, I mean, we could, put just those at Southwest kind of thing. If we can get them, I can use all 3 on the west side. We'll make that work. That would be great.
All 3 of what on the west side?
If we had Southwest, West, and Sears.
You would do that.
We have enough on the west side that we need places for that I would use them all.
Okay.
And if we can't,
Just worry about
we won't, we'll
August.
use what we have.
Okay, so that's fine. Then we'll really try to get all of them. Okay.
Yep.
For August. And then as
That
soon
would be
as we
great.
get August to put to bed, which will be like at the beginning of July, then we start working on November.
I think we need to start working on November already.
Well,
I mean,
I know.
as soon
yeah.
as for Sears, because
Right.
it's a quick turnaround.
But we won't know about Sears. Again, remember, they might demolish it.
But
So
we would know,
have to wait July 5th, they will tell us.
Right.
He told me the day after July 4th, they would know.
so that's good
That's what he said.
for November.
Yes.
Yes, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you for all that you've done.
Well, let's hope it works. Let's hope, right?
Yeah.
That's all I
Great.
got.
Okay, we need to vote on anything unless you want to hold and file or hold and, sorry, Celestine.
You're muted, Celestine. Are you talking?
Too many things going on. Wait, what did you say?
I don't think we need to
Here to
vote on
fix the system.
that. It's just to hold and file until next
Receive and place
Receive
and
and place
file?
on file.
place and
Okay.
file.
Yeah,
I'll move to receive and place on file.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Who was the second?
Me.
Celestine.
Celestine.
Sorry. And anybody opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Okay.
On to poll workers, regular. Chris, do you have an updated number on poll workers and volunteers? Do we have any additional ones since last week?
What we have is, see, 9 that we have all their paperwork in, so they're good to go. What we found out, thank goodness to Charlotte at Covo, she was wondering, she asked the WEC, what happens if somebody checks poll worker online when they register in WisVote? And there's a report that we could pull. We were never told about it. And I'm one of, not to pat myself on the back, but I'm one of the highest ones to take all the webinars in Wisconsin. Never heard of it. Kim never heard of it. So Kim got that report through the WEC. They didn't even know how to get it, some of them. So she got it. It's about 200 people. Jamie sent out letters to all 200 people with, to say, do you still want to be a poll worker?
Okay.
We probably have around 15 or 20 that have applied. All the paperwork has been sent out for, direct deposit, all that. We haven't gotten those back. Sometimes people quit right there, but we have them all listed.
Okay. So let me get this straight, because I think it was last week or the week before we had 100 that said, former poll workers that said, yes, we'll do it. And now
we have 112
okay.
poll workers that said they would do it,
Mhm.
plus 9 other people.
Okay.
Plus 9.
And then I do have some for central count from City Hall that have offered to do that. So I have that. I'm holding those off to the side for that.
Okay. And who are the 200? You said there were 200 on this list.
These are people that when they went online and registered through WisVote, so it comes through us, but we don't have to do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a checkbox that they can, on a registration form, that they can say, yes, I'm interested in being a poll worker.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we sent 200 letters out yesterday or the day before to those people.
Okay. Got it. And that was yesterday or the day before. Okay. So we have a little over half of what we need, but we're increasing. Alder Weary, do you have any? I have a little bit to report on what I have on my list, but do you have anything?
No, go for it. The only thing I had was the polling locations. So that was covered already.
Okay. So using the press release and Facebook and the website information that Clerk Teskey has on the city website now about poll workers, we need poll workers. I've reached out to various organizations, including the League of Women Voters, the Brown County Democrats, the Brown County Republicans, the Young Democrats, Casa Alba, COMSA, others. Those are the ones I've reached out to thus far and sent them the information on the website and said we're seeking to increase the poll work. Several of those folks have answered. They're putting them on their newsletters. They're reaching out to people that they had talking and said that they wanted to be poll workers. So hopefully some of those names will start trickling in. But if any of you have other ideas of entities to reach out to, email me. I'm happy to, I have an email set up now with the information. I like to send the link from Chris, the one from her, essentially from the website from the city, because it obviously looks official. It's got all the info. They just have to click on and go from there. So if you have any other contacts, I'll be putting more together in the next week. But if you have any ideas, send me the ideas and I'll shoot out more emails.
Thanks for doing that.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
I just wanted to say thank you for all that you did.
Okay, we skipped number 2 on the agenda.
No, we just did that.
No, not yet. We're still on 1 consideration. Sorry. Oh, we did. My apologies. That was polling locations. I'll go back to that. My
Okay.
my fault.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure that we knew. Thanks.
Yes, no, thank you for that. I'm trying to move us along and I skipped over 2. Anything else on poll workers?
Yeah, I do have one thing I guess I forgot.
Sure.
I did ask on this committee agenda, hopefully it's on there, right, Barb Alderdorf, that there be some retroactive pay and potential hazard pay if the pandemic is still around during the next 2 elections. That might help generate interest or at least have some effect.
Okay.
We'll see what council thinks about it, but
We'll talk about that next week at finance.
yeah,
Because it's definitely on the agenda.
because I think, you see a lot of people getting hazard pay for similar types of work, so I see no reason why this wouldn't qualify.
Perfect. All right, if there's nothing else on poll workers, I would suggest we have a motion to receive and file as well.
Move to receive and place on file.
Thank you, Alderdorf. Second?
I will. Second.
Terry, okay, Terry Racine, second. All those in favor of placing, and it's actually 1 and 2 regarding poll workers of regular business, item F, receive and file. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And any opposed? Nobody opposed. My apologies, we're going back to E2, consideration with possible action on creating drive-through voting, either for election day and or for early in-person absentee voting, August and November.
I brought up once before that I would not be interested in that. Actually, if I had to work it, I probably would decline working. So I would be
like to
totally,
make that a motion.
Well, I thought you had to talk about Celestine, or no?
Yeah, so, but no, Terry, go ahead and finish.
yeah, I would not be for it at all. We already have a hard enough time getting workers for the stationary, to let alone try to add more workers, to handle cars. I just don't think it's a good idea.
Yes,
My
Karen.
daughter did early voting in Milwaukee, and she waited, this is early voting, not the day of the election. She waited over almost 2 hours to earn a car. I think that's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Say that one more time. I was talking to Mike about the system. So I heard what you said, Terry, and then Karen, could you repeat that?
My daughter, she lives kind of right by the college in Milwaukee, and she waited almost 2 hours to early vote. Because I always said to my kids, now you got your voting, did you do blah, blah, blah? Oh yeah, Mom, I'm going to early vote. She waited almost 2 hours in her car. And that's with a couple kids, so that's ridiculous.
Oh.
So,
I don't think they need to do that anymore.
so let's just so for the benefit of the public, let's just be really clear about what drive-through voting is versus curbside, because I think that sometimes these terms get conflated.
Right.
So, Terry, I hear what you're saying. Karen, I hear what you're saying. Chris, why don't you read to everybody what curbside is? I know Terry and Karen know what it is, but then what drive-through is.
Sure. So when I talked to the WEC on it, curbside voting procedure has stayed the same and is open to any voter who is unable to enter the polling place. Voters don't have to make an appointment to vote curbside, but they could let us know, because we also do this during early voting. We have curbside voting at City Hall. Let's see. So curbside voting is for people that are disabled. It's not because of COVID. So it specifies if you can't get into the polling location, and normally all these years, and Karen can chime in too, people will have someone bring them, and then that person comes into the polling location and they'll stand in line, or if there's no line, they'll go up and say, I have someone in the car that needs to vote. So then two poll workers go out and take care of it, whether they have to register or if they just want to absentee vote. And then what happens is once the person votes the ballot, the two people go back in, put it in the machine to make sure that everything is fine, and then they have to go back out again to say it went through, or nope, here's a mistake, you got to fix it, here's your second ballot. Drive-through voting, and that's what a lot of people thought we were going to have, is where you just drive up and someone's there to vote. But what you have to do, you can't have a polling location inside then. Your whole polling location goes to the outside. And then you vote from there. And that's just, you know, then we still have to have a spot for the express vote. So, and the express vote is for anyone that wants to use it, that's hearing, anyone can use it, but hearing impaired or visually impaired, you know, so it's a whole different ball game from drive-through voting to curbside. Curbside is very specific. Pardon me?
Why are we thinking about this drive-up voting?
Oh, sorry. That's because we're talking about it because there were other communities that did drive-through voting. Some alders had talked about it way back before the April election, and that's one of the options that we could potentially have to meet the challenges of COVID. Wait, I'm sorry, wait. Oh, okay, sorry, Mike is here because we're having problems with the system. Okay, so that's why we're considering it, Karen.
Oh, I think it's stupid.
So one of the things that so I did do a little research. The WEC has a guiding document that Chris just referenced to guide municipalities to do drive-through voting. So I called some tent companies, and if anybody actually had the ability to go over to get tested over at Casa Alba, then that's kind of how it would work for drive-through voting. And you have poll workers working outside, as Karen pointed to, and essentially people would be voting like you would get McDonald's, but we would set it up in a parking lot. Essentially, we could use one of the Bay Beach parking lots to do drive-through voting. That would be in August, obviously. So, but it's the reason why we're bringing it up is because some alders brought it up, and also I think it's important for us to settle on that issue.
Yes, Clerk Teske.
Celestine, when you said for August, are you talking early voting or are you talking day of?
Well, that's up to us. I think, oh, whoops.
There's no way that,
I'm sorry, technical difficulties. I'm sorry, Chris. Okay, all right, go ahead, Chris.
there's no way that you can set up drive-through voting at Bay Beach for everybody. There's just no way.
So, you know, we would need a place if we were, if, lots of ifs, right? Lots of conditional, right? If we decided to have drive-through voting, and if we decided to do it as part of our early voting options, then we would have to choose a location. So Bay Beach, there's one of the parking lots, the west parking lot will not be used in August because of the minimums, or I should say the maximums of people who will be at Bay Beach. They're operating at 50% capacity. So that parking lot would be available. We have other parking lots, but we'd have to, you know, then we'd have to deal with some monthly parkers.
And I think we'd have to have one on the west side. And then who's going to work those? Because it's not poll workers.
No doubt.
Then we're going to have to pull city staff. Okay.
Right.
I just want
Right.
to make, some people
Right.
don't know that. So I just wanted to make sure.
Lots and lots of layers in each of one of those decisions, as Chris is talking about. So that's for the early vote. And then there's drive-through voting for just election day.
And I would think that that would have to be, if we're going to do that, that would have to be every ward. to be fair to everyone. It's just I don't know how we could do it for some and not for others.
Right. The city of Racine did it, and they have a total of 16 polling locations total for all their wards.
But was that it then? That's all they had? Yeah.
Yep,
And-
that's right. That was April. Mhm.
Okay, yep. So we could do that. We would just have to have all 47 wards.
As drive-through. Yes, Allison?
So it sounds like this is probably prohibitively difficult for us to do, and I think that makes sense, and it's good that we talk through the options. But I do think the reason why people are pushing for this, right, is there are some people who aren't, they're still only getting takeout or only doing drive-throughs, and maybe those same people wouldn't want to vote if they have to go in person. So I do think there's good reasons motivating why someone might want there to be drive-through voting, even though it sounds like it's not a solution for our city. So I just want to, I don't think it's unreasonable to consider this option, even if it sounds like 47 drive-throughs is not really doable unless we, take over all the fast food restaurants in the city.
And banks.
Well, I think, that's one thing. You're absolutely right. And there are also people who, who would want to vote absentee. I talked to a lot of these people back in April. They're sheltering in place, and they will continue to do that, regardless of what people say, because there's still a pandemic. And so when it comes to being out in the world, they have, as you're saying, Allison, a real reluctance to do that. And these are not people who will be able to get someone to sign their absentee ballot as a witness. And so then those folks have, in many ways, no other choice but to come on election day, but they don't want to be standing in line, and so I think there's lots to consider.
Mm-hmm. Kim?
Yeah, I agree with you, Celestine. I get what you're saying, and I know that happens because we get the phone calls. But the curbside voting still alleviates that. So they can still be in their vehicle. It's just a matter of somehow being able to let someone know that they're out there waiting for it. I really don't perceive drive-through being a solution. I think it would be worse.
Chris?
I think a more economical solution would be, because I tried this for April and it was so last minute, if we could have a iPhone and an Android. And then what we do is have people call, and hopefully, we're not going to get everyone. We're doing the best we can. We can't please everyone. But I know I tried to set up where I would witness the person signing. If they had an iPhone and I had an iPhone, then we could watch through FaceTime them signing, and then it would come in without the witness, but I would have that documented that I saw them, and then I would sign it once it got mailed in.
We had, when that was going on with the need for signatures for the absentee ballots, the League of Women Voters was willing to go out and do that. So I'm sure that if people do not have somebody to sign their ballot, if they could get word out to members of the League of Women Voters, somebody would go out. I know we did some. We would go out and find their envelope for them. And I'm sure other organizations might be willing to do that too.
That's nice.
Yeah, and that might be part of our awareness campaign, advocacy campaign, is to give people or help people figure out other options for that witnessing. If they want an absentee, if they want to vote absentee, but they don't have a witness living in, with them or next door that they could trust. So.
And then maybe one of the options for Kim just said something that kind of piqued my curiosity. Maybe one of the options for a volunteer at the polling location is for that person to, be kind of standing by a phone if somebody comes and they want to do curbside, they don't have anybody with them, they're alone. And so, you know, if you've got someone to come in, you're golden, right? But if you don't have anyone, maybe there's a way that no, can't do that, Chris?
Only because, I mean, we could, a couple of years ago when we were allowed to use, when an organization gave us cell phones to use on election day, they're not doing that anymore. So each poll worker, we have their cell phone numbers, and you know, they're not gonna wanna give their cell phone out. And how would we get it out to that person anyway?
We could have like a little thing, say, if you want to do curbside and you're alone, call this number. Like the pharmacy does. If you're here to pick up your prescription, call us and we'll come bring it to you, kind of a thing.
But on the election in April, if somebody called, we have people waiting in line for 4 hours. How do we justify running out to their car when other people
Right.
are waiting in line?
You're right.
You know,
H. James?
Yeah, question for Chris. Is there anything with the Wisconsin Election Commission or that somebody witnessed so many ballots? Would that draw any attention? Because one of the things that I have been working with Casa Alba was, and Comasa, would be that the individuals could bring their ballot to either Casa Alba or Comasa and have somebody witness it there. Because, you know, their language issue, having those people sign all of those, would that be considered, you know?
Know what you're saying? No. That's okay. The only thing we watch for is in these spring elections when poll workers are on the ballot and their mom votes, sometimes they'll go and vote. I mean, they'll go and witness it, and then we have to say, no, you can't witness that if they're on the ballot. But no, we would not, it would not be a red flag to us.
Okay, and we were going to work with you anyways and just say, at Casa Alba, these are the 3 people that have witnessed these these ballots, so you know when you see these people's names come in. We were going to have that dialogue with you, but that was one of our concerns people really were raising, is having 2 or 3 people, everybody, you know, a majority of the people in the community.
No, I think it's a great idea.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
On this particular issue, I think we do need a motion because I think we need to vote on it as a committee. So, and usually we have a motion and then discussion. We've had a lot of discussion, but if someone wants to, I'm not cutting off discussion, but I think we should probably have a motion on the table.
Carrie wanted to make a motion, I think.
Yeah, I would make a motion that we do not consider drive-through voting.
I
I
will
second.
Oh, Karen can second.
And Karen seconds it, okay. Motion on the table by Terry Racine is to not have drive-by voting for the August and November, or excuse me, drive-through voting for the August and November elections. And the second is by Karen. So any further discussion on this point? Yeah, the only other thing I think, and I think we discussed this, but I think, you know, we're having difficult enough time right now finding polling places and poll workers that to add this to the mix, at least at this point, is not something we can necessarily wrap our heads around, as well as the possible weather conditions. August could be ridiculously hot, and November could be a blizzard. So I just add that for sort of for the public record. Yes, Alderdorf?
I just was voting. Sorry.
Anybody else, any comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nobody opposed. So the motion passes on E2. Okay.
Can I make a point of clarification?
Yes.
I found something out. The school board will ask questions. The school board wants, if we have any documents we want to send over, they will attach them to the agenda. We did make the agenda. And if anyone else wants to speak, they could just personally email me at District 1 and I'll tell you where you have to go to sign up to speak. And they are using Zoom. So I found out a few things in the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. But I know we already finished that, so I don't want to focus backwards.
That's great.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? We'll move to item G, early in-person and absentee. And I will not read all of this, but this will be Allison and H. James. And we received your document, by the way. That was very, very helpful.
It's very, very nice.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and we slightly updated it, but that's okay. This is a fine first draft to work with. So I'm not sure exactly how our goals map onto the items on the agenda, but essentially we tried to split things up by the goals. But at the top, we have a kind of general statement about what we are hoping can happen. And as maybe indicated by the agenda items, we do think having a both traditional and social media focused campaign is a way that we can reach a wide variety of these goals, particularly if it can have a kind of coherent branding strategy, so that I sound very fancy, but so that it helps voters recognize that they're getting reliable information from the city, both about how to vote and about the changes that are happening. So if it does end up being Sears or high schools or whatever, along with what I've been putting forward, I keep seeing it coming through my feeds about being a poll worker, all those other things. And so, you know, we also, I would say the one thing that's, or maybe not, H, you can jump in if there's more things. The things that are on here that maybe we haven't talked about as much are considering drop boxes, additional drop boxes as a possible way to increase absentee voting, and maybe alleviate some of that pressure around things like drive-through if we have these secure drop boxes that people can drop things on. And then down at the bottom in our fourth goal, which we kind of see as maybe something that is more community oriented than this committee or the city, is really focused on kind of bigger questions of civic literacy and engagement. So I think that I do think that advertising campaign, the clarity around what's happening, some of our recommendations are things around making really transparent, you know, what happens when you mail off that absentee ballot. You know, there's been some cool, and there may be limits on what we can do. I would want to say we made this big list knowing that we have to be guided by what capacity there is for city staff, right? We know you all are working really hard already. So certainly some priorities would have to be set. But some communities have done things like had a news story or a PSA that shows, you know, this is what actually happens when your ballot, you know, there's not just, I think sometimes people imagine that there's just this big pile of ballots being dumped out and instead of the really careful processing that that we know happens. So there could be the possibilities to make those things a little more transparent to folks. We do have in here one sub goal that does have to do with that question about shut-ins or other voters who might not have a witness, which we would recommend that we use community groups for that. So that's our set of goals. It was a little we were a little unsure to what degree they should be all turned into motions. Or Celestine, what would you advise? Do we what do you think are next steps? And sorry, H, I should let you jump in too.
You did it perfect. You did great.
Thanks.
Anybody have any questions for us?
Chris, I see. Yeah, Chris and then Kim.
Under city staff action for increased early in-person absentee voting, we decided that we're not having that satellite stations. We're just having it at City Hall. So that's off the table.
Sure. Yeah, I guess partially. I don't know if we want to use this document as a thing to then winnow down which next steps we're actually going to take, because I think there's more here than we could possibly do. Although I agree, we did I think that's one of the mechanisms on that list, the additional locations. The other mechanism is additional hours for City Hall early voting, which I think you're already doing or planning to do as much as you can.
Yep.
I did think that I had heard in that other meeting that if we got a bunch of CARES funding, then that would possibly be back on the table, but maybe that's not actually realistic for these next elections.
Well, when I was asked straight out, would there be any satellite locations for the fall? I said, no, but maybe we could do the drop boxes, because I can barely get the city established for election days, much less to do something different on top of it. I don't know how we would do it. If we had satellite stations, we're gonna have to take city staff and put them out there, and you know, they're trained now, but they're not proficient in it. I don't have that many people in the office.
Yeah, quick, Kesky, this is absolutely supposed to be an aspirational document that we would need to make some choices about. So I definitely hear that and to take it off the list, but I also don't think we were trying to say that every one of these things can necessarily happen given the resource questions.
Sure, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't wasting time on anything, because your other ideas are fantastic. Let's not focus on that then.
Can I just clarify something? Chris, what this was just Alice and I just brainstorming. We just came up with just trying to come up with different things. And I'm sure you've thought of most of these. We have not picked your brain on this. We were just trying to go, this is what we've heard, this is what we would like to try, and that's what we try to do with this document. And yes, I understand additional, but maybe having a Dropbox at UWGB and NWTC, that might be beneficial. Things like that kind of encourage people seeing it at the NWTC and UWGB, reminds them to go vote. I don't know if that's even feasible.
Well, yeah, I'm the one that brought that forward at the UWGB meeting. Dropboxes. My only thing, and I thought maybe I could ask Allison, is at that meeting, I failed to say that there's postage on, the ballot going to them and postage to send it back. So is there not like a mail place at GB for them to mail things out? Is that why a Dropbox would be better?
You can put things in the mail in the UTIC in certain hours. I think part of it is the visibility that H just brought up. I think part of it is the security question. I think for whatever reason, I think that there's questions about how, so for example, some folks didn't get their ballots this last fall, and we've already talked about why that happened, and we don't have to get back into that. But for whatever reason, I think the perception is that the Dropbox would be seen as something that's secure and ensures that you would have a higher likelihood of getting that ballot back, getting that ballot counted.
Oh, versus the post office. Okay.
Is there a timing issue as well, perhaps? Perhaps if someone's waiting until the day of, there may be a timing issue as well, but the Dropbox would ensure that their ballot is counted.
I have a comment on that.
Sure.
The Dropboxes, I think, are a great idea. I know when I worked, several people said, well, don't you just have a Dropbox where I can drop this off? And so, or one of the other poll workers said to me, that would be a really good idea. And if people got their absentee ballot late, we could tell them that drop it, it can be dropped there, and you guys would process it yet that night. Somebody would pick it up, one of the city workers. I think the Dropbox is a great idea.
Okay, Kim, I saw your hand up. Yep.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
actually, it was in regards to the drop boxes. I am for them, but at the same time, the thing that we have an issue with in Green Bay is that Alloway, Bellevue, Ashwaubenon, Howard, they all have a Green Bay mailing address, so a lot of people think they vote with the city of Green Bay. In our drop box that we had for April, right outside City Hall, we got ballots for Bellevue, Alloway. I got one for Milwaukee. I got one for Madison. I got one for Kenosha.
Okay.
I think there was a Sun Prairie put in there. And the thing is we, like on election day, at 8 o'clock, we empty that bin, they're done. No one else can put ballots in after that. And if we've got 20 drop boxes around town, and if people are doing it from every Ashwaubenon or whatever, and they're just dropping them in there, the time that it will take to go around and collecting them also is going to be detrimental. But then we gotta then make sure that the correct municipalities get the ballots in time by
That's a good
election day
point.
too.
That's
It's
a good
just,
point.
Mhm.
it's a double-edged sword in a way, but I really think, I mean, we have the one now at City Hall, which worked great, especially with them getting mailed out a little later than we had intended with some of them, but especially being out at UWGB, a Dropbox there, because a lot of students, some of them vote in Green Bay, some don't. They vote from their home, and I would hate for them to put the ones that need to go back to their homes in that Dropbox when there's postage on the envelopes. I just wanted to bring it up, so it's something to
It is a
consider.
good point, Kim. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Anybody else? I'm scrolling through pictures to see. Yes, Allison and H. James. Go ahead.
So thank you so much for that, Kim. That's really important. And I do think the Dropbox would have to be paired with a good amount of education around it for students who are already, I think, not always as informed as they should be about how they can vote and what it looks like. But I think that the student government is fired up about it. And I think that there's enough faculty and staff interested in it that it might actually be a good opportunity to educate people about voting. So I absolutely hear what you're saying. And I also hear if there's too many of them, maybe that's a problem. But I think Clerk Teske had talked about maybe if there's a few, maybe a few grocery stores or, GB, whatever's manageable for your staff, finding that balance. I would support the drop boxes. And I do think people see them for better or worse. I mean, I trust the post office, but I see them as secure,
Right. H.
The other thing is maybe the Dropbox doesn't stay open until the day of the election. It could be 2 weeks before the election where those are getting picked up. And then could you review those at that time? And then if they need to go somewhere else, you could route them?
Well, that would be a dream if we had 2 weeks in order to get them to where they needed to go, yeah.
Well, I was just thinking that might be a way of doing it.
I think even if we did, we'd have to find out who's going to be doing the pickups. That would be an issue. But otherwise, even if we got them Monday morning and we closed them Monday morning, give everyone the weekend to get that last push in. And then if we got them, had someone go out and pick them all up on Monday morning and then we get them in, I think that would work. Don't you, Kim?
It would, as long as none of them are out of Brown County.
Well, and I think somehow we'd have to try and make sure that on the lockbox, Dropbox itself, it says City of Green Bay only, not Ashwaubenon, and how we have to do that for certain things. If we could do that, because then if they put it in there, and by the way, everyone, we've had very interesting things in that Dropbox where we even had to call the police.
Oh my God.
But I think then it's on them. I mean, people have to take responsibility. And then their vote won't count, and that's on them. Just a thought.
Any other questions that anybody had on on the document?
No, I thought it was very comprehensive, very helpful.
Yeah, it was very nice.
In terms of voting on something, do we want to take a couple of these for perhaps next week and you know, in terms of like the fund advertising campaign, fund drop boxes, and have them on the agenda as items to vote on? Would that be a way to sort of start moving these items forward? This question is sort of to Allison and H. Go ahead.
I think that would be great, although if there is something that Celestine or Clerk Teskey thinks we need to move forward more quickly, no. So if it's possible, I don't mean to put too much work on them, but again, we weren't able to necessarily evaluate capacity or priority in terms of what the city can do. So perhaps they could help us with what the kind of top recommendations are for the agenda for next week.
Sure. Yes, Clerk Teskey.
We have, just 2 weeks before the ballots go out. Just wanted to give that reminder. In my mind, if we're going to do the drop boxes, we need to do that now. Unless you just want to do it starting November. I'm not sure, to me, August is always a test run for everything. So, ideally, we'd have everything in place for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the kids aren't there, right, Allison? They're not there.
Yeah, campus is actually closed until the 1st of next month. And so I don't know, you can get permission to go there, but just logistically and in terms of its efficacy, I don't know if the GB one makes sense for August, even though I agree that what you're saying, rehearsal seems very sensible. But I don't know if there are other drop boxes that would be helpful.
Yeah, I really think they would be, because I think ours downtown got kind of a little bit busy. But we would have to, I think, limit the drop box to election day, Monday and Tuesday at City Hall, just at City Hall, so we can grab those. So I don't know. I don't even know if the money's there for it.
Terry, go ahead.
Yes, what about a drop box at like the fire station on Humboldt Road and the one on Far West Mason? If we only
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
just the two. I think if we put too many out there, it's too many, but I think.
Well, looking at, I kind of looked at things and some have it like every 3 miles. I thought about fire stations, but then I thought, which I truly think that's a good idea, but people could block in the fire trucks.
Yeah.
Because they do that on election day. Nobody seems to want to follow where they should park. So I even thought libraries. We don't own the libraries, but if it has I think it should have a camera on it. Then I thought of festivals. If festival on, one on each side would allow us. I was just going out on the website, seeing what California does, what, Colorado, different places do. And it is main points where people know, and they would know a fire station. I just would worry that they'd lock them in.
I actually think the library suggestion is a good one. People, to indicate that, and I know there's on the east side, there's a library site over here, obviously, and then the main one downtown. Is there one on the west side as well?
There's one on 9th Street, but then again, you look at the logistics and it's just on the other side of the river. There's nothing farther out, like by the NWTC,
Right.
which I think that would be, someplace like that would be good, because it, the farther out, because the inner city could go to City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had one farther out on west and east side. I
Mhm.
think that would be good. Just so they don't, a lot of people don't like the one-way streets downtown.
Or parking.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I think that would help if we had one on each side.
Mhm.
They cost roughly $1,000 a piece.
So is this something that would have to go to finance to be approved, or? Because we could certainly make a recommendation from this committee to do that.
Celestine's shaking her head yes.
Okay. Alderman Weary?
Yep, I agree. I'd make that motion.
And finance, you'll make that motion? Okay, and that goes to finance. So maybe we don't decide the locations, we make the recommendation that we think drop boxes are advisable and between 2 and 4, and we'll let finance and the clerk's office decide. Does that sound good? Okay, Alderman Weary, that's
Perfect.
okay. That's your motion. Do we have a second? Allison is a second. So the motion on the floor is a recommendation to the Finance Committee that 2 to 4 drop boxes for the elections be authorized to purchase those. Decided by the clerk's office, and that would be for both the August and November elections. Motion made by Alderman Weary, second by Allison. All those in favor, or any more discussion, I should say? Yes, Allison.
Really quickly, I agree. We should let them decide where they are, but I do really want to advocate for NWTC and UWGB as good options, both because of their locations and because of the folks that access those campuses. So I trust you all to pick those that make sense.
Yeah, I would agree with Allison. I think those, and the only thing that when I said the library sounded like a good idea, that's if UWGB is not open or NWT is not, but I agree that that's a good, those are good possibilities. Any other, yes, Clerk Tusky?
So Celestine, I think finance has already published, did they publish their agenda? So this isn't gonna go for a long time. Yeah. Unless they would amend it.
They meet Tuesday, right?
Yeah, they could amend it.
Tuesday, and is Alderman Weary on that committee?
Amend it tomorrow. Barb's the chairperson, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind doing that.
Okay, and I think she had another meeting at 6, so we will, our recommendation will be to the Finance Committee, and we'll try to get it on the agenda as soon as we can. If amending works, that would be great.
Susan, are you going to talk to Barb about that?
I will text her tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so any other discussion on that motion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye from Celestine. And anybody opposed? No, it's unanimous, okay? And with respect to item G, I don't want to rush through anything here. Was there anything else that we wanted to vote on this evening? Let me see what we have here. I know last week we talked about some of the advertising. Is that anything we want to vote on this week? I'm seeing a no, not yet from Celestine. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Unless there's anything else, I think we're at adjournment. If anyone wants to make a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Terry moves. Any second?
I'll second.
H seconds. All those in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. It's unanimous. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and we'll speak next week. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye.